rather Germanic following.
I'm from Germany,
right.
And we have our special system, you know, we have a church tax.
I can't believe how hard this is. The people I can speak to don't know, and the people who know I can't speak to. At least I have the budget of the Holy See to delve into. It reveals Catholic parishes around the world send 2 collections to the Vatican. The first is for the Pope's charities. That's £50.5 million a year. The second is for the Pope himself, a nice little earner of £18 million, which was widely reported as the amount the BBC paid Jonathan Ross. It's time to cut my losses in Rome and move on. But will Judaism be richer than the Church of England and Catholicism?
It's proving extremely difficult.
Well, everything here is extremely difficult, and that's part of the challenge of being here.
I'm heading to Israel in my 6-day global quest to discover which religion is the richest. So I've done quite a lot of research for the Jewish population in England and Wales. It's really difficult. I contacted loads of Jewish organisations and they were either unwilling or completely unable to give me an idea. They weren't even able to take a guess at the income, the total income for the faith. They just don't know. So I'm going to make an educated guess, but the problem is there are 25 different denominations within the Jewish faith. So I was only able to get figures for one, which is the United Synagogues. I'm having to use their data as a sample and apply it to the whole of the practicing Jewish community in England and Wales. Their total income, if we work that out, is going to be about 62.7 million for the whole country, with assets of just over £150 million. So I think the Jewish income in England and Wales could be £62.7 million. That's just shy of the personal wealth of Britney Spears. And the faith's assets could be a £150 million. That's the same amount Roman Abramovich is spending building one house in Knightsbridge. This is my first time in Israel, and I want to impress. Luckily, my taxi driver has offered to help with my Hebrew. Rabbi? Kama mashalamin mim leka.
I promise you won't get an answer for this. Be prepared to be punched in the face.
It's Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, and before I get stuck into the finances, there's a place in Jerusalem that I've always wanted to see, the most sacred site in the Jewish faith, the Western Wall.
I've seen pictures of this all my life. To actually be here now is absolutely... I mean, I'm quite nervous because it's such a spectacular place.
The Western Wall is all that's left of the Jewish Holy Temple destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD. It's a place where Jewish followers come to pray and mourn the suffering of their ancestors.
So I'm in the most holy of Jewish sites on really one of the holiest holidays of the year, and I want to ask people about money. Imagine how comfortable I feel about that.
Luckily, I'm here to meet economic journalist Greer Faye Cashman. She's happy to discuss finance, but her forecast for my mission is bleak.
Is there anywhere I can go to try and get even the vaguest picture of the financial setup?
If you go to the Ministry for Religious Affairs, they will give you as vague a picture as you want.
Right.
It appears the Jewish faith in Israel is heavily subsidised by the state, and it's the Ministry of Religious Affairs who dish out the dosh.
Everything in Israel is political.
Right.
They'll explain to what extent the government provides finance, but they won't tell you about the rest of it.
So really, then the funding is coming from so many different places.
Oh,
That's why it's hard to...
And also, another very, very important source of funding is from Holocaust survivors who've done well, because their families, by and large, perished in the Holocaust and have no graves. And because there's no grave to visit, and they want to perpetuate their names, and very often they do it by donating to religious institutions and putting their loved ones' names on the plaque. So somewhere that person's name still exists, even if nothing else is there.
So a great deal of Jewish funding comes from private individuals in America, which makes calculating the income and assets of the faith that much harder.
It's not only the money's coming into hundreds of places, it's also going to hundreds of places.
Yes.
That it's impossible to... I mean, has anybody ever tried to do it?
I haven't got the faintest idea, but I presume you're trying.
Well, I'm trying, but it's proving extremely difficult.
Well, everything here is extremely difficult, and that's part of the challenge of being here.
I feel I have been challenged today.
You'll feel even more challenged by the end of the week.
I think you're right.
Right, time to get cracking. The Ministry of Religious Affairs should be able to tell me how much money the state gives out to synagogues. And there's no time to lose.
Is that the Chief Rabbinet's office? I need to find someone I can ask about the Ministry of Religious Affairs. You think there's no chance whatsoever? Is there anyone I can contact then? Nothing at all. It's not your department, effectively. I can understand it's very complicated. There is no Ministry of Religious Affairs. It has been disbanded. OK, thank you for your help. Bye-bye.
So the government office who could have told me the faith's income in Israel has been shut down. This is giving me the right hump.
You know, I reckon if I asked the camel I'd get more answers. He looks fairly intelligent.
At least my phone bashing turned up something rare. A lawyer willing to talk for free.
How do you do? You Rabbi Ian?
Yes.
Hi, Robert. Hi, very nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Maybe we should go somewhere else, a little quieter, to try and have a talk. Very kind of you.
But Rabbi Ian Pear believes the ministry only funds a small portion of synagogues anyway.
Not all synagogues get funding from the government. Or
Most don't. Most don't.
Most don't?
Yes.
Right.
So we, for example, the synagogue that I'm the rabbi of is an Orthodox synagogue. We don't receive any funding from the government.
And so is your synagogue then funded mainly from outside of Israel?
It's about half and half. About half comes from the membership within Israel, and the other half comes from people who are either visitors or support what we're doing and want to see us succeed.
Right. I love the fact that every simple question opens up like 5 million very complicated answers.
There's a lot of politics and religion and theology behind every question.
Yes.
Wonderful. Another web of bureaucracy. But Rabbi Pear does have a helpful piece of advice.
Probably a slightly better place in Israel,
Yeah.
not outside of Israel, is there is in the Justice Ministry, there is a registry of nonprofit organizations. Now, any of the larger synagogues that collect money legally should declare that money and tell the government what exactly they're doing with those funds.
Right. That is fantastic news. That is brilliant. That's the first hint that I've had. Thank you very much.
Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure.
I've got the address, but I'll have to hurry as they shut at noon, and it's already 11:45.
They're fixing a car radio. Doesn't really look like the Ministry of Non-Profit Organisations, to be honest.
If I can find this register of non-profit organisations, then I can total up the synagogue's balance sheets, just like I did with the Catholic churches in England. And bingo, I've got a substantial part of the income for the Jewish faith in Israel.
I think maybe we should go up those stairs. It's got to be here somewhere. There's nobody here to ask. That's up here, with a bit of luck. This has got to be it.
Unfortunately, cameras aren't allowed inside.
Fantastic. So, I did it just in time. They were just about to shut when I got there. That was the Registrar of Non-Profit Organisations, or the Amutat. And so they've got the list of all the organisations, the voluntary and non-profit organisations in Israel that receive state funding. 50,000 non-profit organisations. And they have no idea how many of them are synagogues. They have no idea how many of them are directly religious. It's just, you know, so you get that, you get this information, you think, yes, I've got it, and then it all slips away.
Thankfully, all is not lost. I've persevered on the phone and tracked down the government department that deals with religious finance. They've got to know the income and assets of Judaism.
Well, I finally found out there is a Ministry of Religious Affairs. It's at number 7 on this street, which is, to all intents and purposes, looks a bit like the Israeli Anti-Drug Authority.
No, it's next door. My appointment is with one of the top money men in the ministry, Ariel Catane.
So, Ariel, it's so good of you to see me. What is your job title?
I'm head of the division, the finance and budgeting division of the Ministry of Religions.
Right. So it does sound like you're the man who would know. So
Excellent. I'm just one step away from discovering the income and assets of the Jewish faith in Israel.
So, I mean, is there any way you can furnish me with those figures? Is there a way that... Do you have a list of those figures?
We don't have a list of those figures. The synagogues themselves don't get anything from the state.
Right.
But
Oh, no, not another bureaucratic dead end. With no official figures, I can only make an educated guess. And for that, I need to know the total number of Israeli synagogues. Surely the government know how many synagogues there are?
Because that's something I've asked a lot of people, and everyone says we don't know. I mean, I'm assuming you would have an idea of how many.
To tell you the truth, we don't know either.